Hello, my name is Dan Cholish, and I'm a lead product manager for the FootPrints product, and today we're going to discuss business rules. So first, what is a business rule? Very high level, it's really any time you want to automate something in the system, you're going to want to use a business rule. Another way to say it is really any time you want a record that meets certain criteria to perform one or more actions, you're going to have to create a business rule to do that. Those are just very generic descriptions. So let's give a bunch of common examples of why someone in an ITSM solution like FootPrints would want to generate business rules. So there's a lot of email examples. So these first few are all going to be email. Maybe you want to send an email to a customer when their ticket's been updated. So the agent's updated it, let the customer know what the update is. Hopefully there's a resolution in there. Maybe the customer has made an update, the agent's waiting for them to get some information back. Maybe you want to send email reminders or somehow escalate the ticket. So maybe you want to let someone know there might be a threat of breaching some service level. Maybe you want to auto-assign to a certain person or group based on a category or a location. So if it's hardware, assign the hardware team. If it came from the London office, assign the London team, etc. You might want to just set field values based on other field values. So a common example of that is you might want to set the priority based on the impact and the urgency. You might want to do some math, so getting like totals and averages. If you have some numbers and fields, you can do that. Another option, two different ones, is linking. So you might want to automatically link records together. So linking a contact to a ticket when the ticket gets submitted, or automatically spawning new records, like creating new subtasks for something. You might want to provide informational messages to people. So when they're filling out the ticket, if they do some particular combination of things, let them know, oh, you've selected certain criteria, so I want to let you know a little bit more information about what you're selecting and what to do next, that kind of thing. And then maybe you want to send a survey as another example. Those of you that are familiar with version 11 are going to be familiar with all these features. So business rules is one feature. It does a lot of stuff and encompasses all this version 11 stuff. You can think about it similar to an escalation. So it's really kind of just an escalation on steroids. We have a few different rule types. So you can see towards the right, we have new business rule. When you're creating them, it's going to show you some types. You really just want to focus on the first two, on-screen rule and after save rule. Those are the two main types of rules. On-screen rules are kind of as advertised. It performs actions on screen while someone's actually clicking around on the form. It's going to set fields or maybe bring up informational messages. After save rules are rules that are going to perform actions after someone's completed their update to the record. So maybe they're in the UI and they submitted their update, or they sent in an email, or maybe after a certain time increment has passed. All those other rule types you see are really just there to provide some basic rule templates for people that are novice, just to kind of show them, lead them through how to configure some basic rules. But in general, you're going to want to stick to the first two because you can accomplish everything with one of those two types. Okay, so let's configure some business rules. You can see here a screenshot. We really just have four sections. You really have business rule properties that have kind of a name, optional description, and a couple of other things. And then the three main things are triggers, criteria, and actions. So a trigger is when you actually want to check for the criteria. The criteria is, what criteria you're looking for to met in order for the rule to run. So in this case, maybe the priority equals critical, or any field equals a certain value. And you could have combinations of criteria as well. And then lastly, actions. So this is what you want the rule to actually do. Once the trigger runs and successfully passes the criteria, what do we want it to do? So in this example, sending in an email, but you could also set field values, reassign, do some kind of math, send out surveys, change the color of a ticket, etc. Let's take a look in the interface to see how this looks. You can see here I have new business rule, my few different options. I'll just create an after save rule. I could give it a name and description, but we'll just quickly go down to the triggers, criteria, and action. If I click on triggers, since this is of an after save type, there's also a trigger type called after save. So basically after someone submits their update, I want it to do something. And you can see there are further sub options. Only when someone's creating a ticket, for example, or only when they're updating a ticket, or maybe when a rule makes an update. Another of the most common ones would be this time-based rule. So maybe check every 15 minutes, every hour, every day for certain conditions, and then do something based on that. A lot of these other triggers you're going to see in some of our other videos, maybe some more complex examples. But I'll just choose after save on create. I'll choose some criteria. So maybe you only want this to happen when the category is equal to hardware. And then maybe I want to add some additional criteria and say and. Maybe the priority is equal to critical. And then lastly, I set my action. So I mentioned a lot of the different things you could do: sending email, changing assignment, setting field values. You could kind of read through the list here. But in this case, maybe I want to, if its category is hardware and priority is critical, automatically set the assignee to the hardware team. So I'll choose the hardware team, create, and I can just save my rule once I give it a name, and that's really all. So those are the basics of creating a very simple rule. Feel free to watch the rest of our videos to see some more advanced options on a lot of great things you could do with rules. Thank you very much.